Commander Cockins and Captain Foley here yet again for another Trekyards mission briefing, and we're yet again looking at the fan film ships. What are we doing today, Stuart?
This week we're taking a look at what was your number one in your top 10 favorite fan film design ships, the Klingon Battle Cruiser from Star Trek Renegades. Made number 4 on my list, but still a great ship.
Designed by the legendary John Eaves and built by the one known Tobias Richter at a length of 356 metres to the Katinga's 214 and the Vorchar's 481, she was the new breed of post-Dominion Klingon battle cruisers.
Now, it's worth noting that we've already done some planning towards a full episode on this ship. So we've talked with Scott Nakata, the production designer of Renegades, to flesh out much of the information, and we will, I'm sure, get into a little bit of that today. So let's get on to the first picture.
Cool. So this was the first press photo, I believe, came out about this ship, way back. So what did you think when you first saw this new Klingon warship?
Same old, same Klingon design. Look at that. It's hard to tell from this picture a lot of the details, but it does look menacing, and I like all the red highlights and accents on there. So, but yeah, I was thinking, here we go again. Same old thing.
Yeah, I do remember thinking it's because it doesn't really highlight the elegance of the ship. It's just a step off. It's kind of like a fan. Well, it's all fan design. But it's like a fan design. How they've just sort of made a few of the shapes different and things. But there is more to this ship than that. That's why it's my number one. But yeah, it was nice to see that the Klingons were back. I remember thinking, oh, cool. I think they also released a picture of the Klingon that was in it. So I was like, hey. But the next photo, as you guys might remember, I worked on Renegades at the behind-the-scenes level, doing documentary stuff and stuff for the Blu-ray and DVDs. So I was able to get a lot of this extra content, which you're going to see now in the full episode. And this was the original sketch that was done by John Eaves, given to Scott Nakata, for his original concept, a post-Dominion War battle cruiser. What do you think of this, then?
It's fantastic. I mean, I love the lines on it, the points on the engines. The thing, it is missing the shuttle bay and impulse deck on the top there, though.
It does make it feel more. It makes it feel more fightery, just much thinner and much smaller.
But it is a nice evolution. It takes the basic shapes and it kind of changes a few of them just slightly, just to make it something new and unique. So
yeah, it's one of those things that the tried and tested D7 Katinga design, stayed around from apparently Enterprise era all the way until Dominion War. And how do you push that? And yes, just saying add points is an obvious touch, but John, I think, really elegantly made it all flow together. But the next photo is his full orthos that he sent the production team, and this is basically what we see in the final version, although Tobias tends to add his own bits and pieces, which John likes designers doing. Can you pick out anything from this that stands out?
First thing I noticed, it's a shorter neck than a D7, which is kind of nice. It kind of brings in that bird of prey aesthetic as far as the neck and the head of the ship goes. And it also, with the way that secondary hull shapes at the front, it looks like a bat'leth or a Klingon edged weapon. So it's very cool design that way.
Yeah, it's far more armoured feel than I think the final version is. It's far more rough curves, which does give that big point feel. This feels more like that central part of the secondary hull is armoured. That will take a beating.
Oh, I'm sure.
But I like now seeing the full side shot that you've got the sweeping engines and the sweeping bits above the engines, and it gives us really interesting lines,
This is, like I said, this is one of my favorite Klingon ships. Well, I haven't said it in this episode, but I said it before. This was a great reimagining of Klingon design. I really am impressed with this. I need to see more of it. Right, so let's move on to the next picture. And this is it, size comparison with the Archer and the Icarus. Just a little bit bigger than the Icarus.
And this is the internal scale chart they used for the movie. And it's in feet, yes. But it's the 358 meters or whatever I said at the start. So they wanted a ship that was aggressive and bigger than the Icarus, which is quite a small ship, but also not as big as the Archer.
And, it's smaller than the Archer, but at the beginning of the movie, they actually send 3 of them to take on the Archer. So, I mean, that's typical Klingon strategy, is to send 3 ships.
Well, Klingons have never been about making the biggest ships. You've got obviously the Vorcha and the Negavar, but those are pretty rare in the Armada. You really just see the D7s, and they really don't scale up when you look at the Galaxy and the Silver, and it's like, wow, those are tiny. Yeah. So it makes sense they would still keep these relatively small ships. But how much punch can you get in a small package, as it were? I was going
to say, well, with what we saw on screen, they do pack a pretty powerful punch. So I don't know exactly what the armament is on these, but Be great to find out.
And the next photo is our fantastic model, which has just been finished by Michael Wiley. As you may know, did the Proto Ambassador, the Centaur, and lots of other models we've used, and he's built this one specially for us, based on Tobias's model, and it looks amazing. So well done, Michael, and thank you. And this will be in the full episode, doing all the fancy renders that you'll expect from me. And it's a good looking ship in all different levels. It's very dimensional because the Katinga and D7 are very sort of flat. Even with the detailing of the Katinga, but look at this head part, and there's so many levels and so much. Not sure if that's functional per se, or if it could just be armor. Could be a level above armor.
I gotta say, this is my first time seeing this model from Michael Wiley, so you guys are experiencing it the first time just like I am. So incredible work. I actually kind of thought this was Tobias's for a second. So good job, Michael.
So you can only imagine what we're going to see me do when we get to the episode finally, which is going to be fun.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Michael.
So moving on to the next photo, this is Tobias's work from the Lightworks, and again, it's a kind of a dark photo, but it really gives that air of danger that the Klingons need. And I love that there's like red plating. I guess it's plating or armor.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the ship. It really gives it a good dimensionality, and something that I think is really lacking in older Klingon designs is some accents, some counterbalance to just the hull color. I mean, we get that a little bit in the Katinga, but I like the way this one is portrayed. So,
and we know that is the Ford torpedo launcher, as is with all this style of ship. So that makes me think it's some sort of functional plating, and I guess you say it could be red. Red is torpedoes. I mean, what do you think?
Well, it could be the it could be the cloaking device emitter too, just like on the Bird of Prey, because that's well, no, the red thing around the torpedo launcher on the Bird of Prey is the deflector, but the piping that goes along the edge of the main head was the cloaking emitters. So I don't know if the cloaking emitters in this one have kind of been moved down, because doesn't look like the deflector array at all.
Well, it's a hell of a long time refined from the Bird of Prey, so
it is absolutely.
And you can see all the lovely details. There's internal windows that Tobias put in. Not too many windows, I remember he told me, but still enough to get that dimensionality. And having rewatched the film before this, or parts of the film, the engine hubcaps, as it were, the facades, are most of the time not red. They're actually very much a subtle, sort of very, very light pinky, not red. So I thought they were red, but actually they're not. Although it does give that nice aggressive feel, so possibly it's only when at warp. Not sure. I'll have to ask Tobias about that. And the next shot is an aft photo, and again, more of those beautiful glows. We have the impulse and the engine pods. Now, doesn't the way we can see those little grates either side of the engine, does that scream D5 to you?
Yes, I think it does. One of my favorite features of the ship is the shape of these warp nacelles, where they taper back like that. I mean, that just makes the ship look so much sleeker and not as boxy, I guess.
Well, it looks refined.
Yeah, good refinement on the D7 design for sure.
Yeah, like they've managed to get more power, shrink it down, and I feel like because it's so layered that it each, like several different parts of it do different things. So it's not just engine with coils. There's multiple layers of tech within it. Not sure what. But,
and one thing I do notice that kind of speaks John Eaves, is those raised up parts on the shuttle, or on the top part on the back. Kind of very reminiscent of the retro Bird of Prey, how he kind of took the D7 look and moved them up higher. So he's got kind of continued that look. So that's very cool.
Yeah, you can't really tell they're not one complete piece from the front. I kind of forget they're not. I guess, like with all technology, it gets smaller and sleeker, so that makes sense. But it does kind of give it more of a wings, like Cupid wings feel, which is kind of odd. But
yeah, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
All right, so moving on to the next picture.
This is what I made.
Oh, this is a nice size comparison. Good job.
Thank you.
So that would be Michael Wiley's, I assume.
Yep. With textures done by Tobias, just to point that out.
Yeah, cool. And Katinga. So it is quite a bit bigger than a Katinga. I wouldn't have thought at first glance that it was that much bigger.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
It looks almost like a refitted version where it's just a little bit bigger. But yeah, it's quite a bit bigger.
Yeah, it is a beefy ship. I mean, really, the engine is the size of the ship. That's a hell of a thing.
It's just like the Next Generation, right? The nacelles on the Galaxy class were the same size as the original Connie, lengthwise. So
absolutely, but it does show you that it's the same basic shape, but everything is just really brought in and yeah. It's one of those things where you can be kit bashy, but then you can do something new, and I think John keeps such a stylized flow to this ship that it becomes something new.
Yeah, like it's just subtle little alterations on the shapes just makes everything look so much more advanced and more. There we go, the word sleek again, but it's true because we can't use aerodynamic because it's space, people.
If you look at the bridge module, because what problem with upscaling everything as with Star Trek, physical models, and now it's a bigger ship. It's like, but it's not. That doesn't make sense. This is an upscale, but it is a new design. We know the size of the bridge module in the Katinga. It's basically the room we see, which is a reasonably sized room. So upscale that to this new battle cruiser. The shapes are similar, but how much more is in that? Like, what's your take on what more this ship can do? Because functionally, a bridge only needs to be certain size, or the bridge module.
Well, the main bridge module on the Katinga there is that top part on the tower. So if you kind of take that, slice off that top part a little bit, move it over, that back part on the top of the new one, I think would be a bridge module. I don't think it'd be too much bigger than the one that they used to have. I mean, the Klingons aren't for comfort. They're not going to have a big decked out bridge like the D with the couches and the whirlpools.
Unless
and the
they had
lounges
spikes on them.
Oh yeah, spiked couches. There you go. But no, I don't think it'd be too much bigger. Yeah, again, seeing this ship from the inside, I would love to see some interior details for sure, because I want to see how that would have changed.
One big thing I want to point out though is, and this is a thing that John wanted to add an Enterprise, but didn't. Well, Enterprise / late DS9, but the side torpedo launchers on the head, because every other ship only has a single forward torpedo launcher, but this ship actually has three. It has two or one on either side. The story behind that is that John's wanted to add that ever since the DS9. If you watch our recent Bird of Prey episode, he talks about, well, we see the DS9 concept that also had two aft torpedo launchers. He wanted that in one of the Klingon designs. In Enterprise, they didn't put it in. He's always thought that would be a good design. Interestingly, Tobias, when he actually built this, he thought they were airlocks, and so he built doors. So when he showed them to John, he was like, no, those torpedoes. So he had to completely rebuild those sections to be torpedo launchers because it was so out of the box.
Well, that happens a lot when the designer's illustration gets translated into the CG format. The CG illustrators don't know what things are sometimes, or they add their own embellishments. So that's always been a problem with that kind of process. So
yeah.
Now, one thing I do have to ask about this, Samuel, I know we just did the Retro Bird of Prey episode.
Yeah.
Do you think that this ship has targ pits? And if so, how many?
7, maybe 8.
Okay,
I get the sense that post-Dominion War, that the Klingons, obviously they're trying to recover, but they would build ships that could survive more. We see in the Dominion War how fragile and how you can just blow. I mean, come on, DS9 versus those Katingas, 3 torpedoes, it's gone. Like, they need something bigger and more worth surviving and have the maneuverability and the speed of a Katinga. So I get the sense this ship has we talked to Scott, has a much larger crew than a normal standard Klingon ship. They do beef everything up. So I get the sense this is designed for multiple year missions, if that. So yes, targ pits and blood wine showers, for off days, and maybe even a holodeck or two, or a stab deck, but hollow stab deck. I don't know.
Yeah, they don't have a phaser range. They got a spear throwing range or something. Yeah.
or just a choking range. Just get enemies and just choke. I don't know. But yeah, what's your thought on the side torpedo launchers?
My thought on them?
Yeah,
I think that's amazing. I mean, I think a lot more ships need to have that kind of technology built in it. We know the Akira does. The Akira has sideways facing torpedoes, and I think if it's designed for battle, which Klingon ship generally would be, it's a great idea. You don't have to reposition your entire ship to get a good shot off, and a lot of times that's standard procedure to attack somebody is to flank them, come in from the side. So to have those weapons is a big advantage in battle. So I think that's a fabulous idea. I love that.
And I kept thinking when we were talking about what's now in the head module, in the bridge module, in the head section, I get the feeling that they've got a far greater supply of torpedoes. Like, that is now decked out with ammo. Like, maybe have some quantums, some photons, some tricobalts. You know, really have levels of torpedoes just to be able to fire multiple things in multiple ways and probes, because there's a lot of space there now. You know, you can fit a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah, well, and that red, the striping on the side, maybe those are the decks that are all dedicated to torpedoes. It's like advertising. You don't want to, hey, look at this.
You don't want to tell the enemy, Stuart. Jesus. If you fire here, secondary explosions. Terrible. But yeah, I like side torpedo launchers. Although I think visually you wouldn't want to use them in the episodes because it would look odd, unless it was very close range. Like if they were going over and then, you know, suddenly fires down. Just because it's an odd aesthetic. Although since torpedoes are self-guided, firing them from sides, they can just easily just turn around and fire. So I mean, you don't need, you know, they're not cannons, they're torpedoes. But yeah, I would have probably put more like Axnar Ares style, two little submarine style grills on maybe the top of the bridge module, and then this main bottom one. So that one can fire probes and all different types of torpedoes. The other one's just fire photons. That'd be my take, but possibly a bit too subtle to really change the design.
Interesting, yeah. So let's go to the next picture. Oh, here's the size comparison from the top. Now this, you really get to see some of the things I really like about this ship is how it's been angled to look more aggressive, look more like a Klingon, like I said, like a Klingon battleth. It's got those edges, those curves. And I'm really impressed with this ship, by the way, guys. This is like one of, if not my most favorite Klingon ship.
Okay.
Klingon ship.
Yeah, we need to do top 10 Klingon ships from Fan Designs, Canon, FASA, and see what your mix is.
Ooh, that would be an interesting one. But yeah, this is definitely up there for sure. Just this, I don't know, the way those engines taper at the back, the front of that secondary hull, the shape is amazing, and then how the head of the craft is shaped as well.
Now,
I don't know, it all comes together.
When I first saw the ship, I thought the head of the ship was too soft and casual. I mean, the D7 is very distinct. It still has those aggressive points, and so to go from the aggressive hull to the very sleek, curvy, casual equivalent of the saucer, I thought it was an interesting juxtaposition. I like it now, but it's an interesting way of doing it, especially from this angle. You can see that the geometry. Does that fit still?
I believe it fits perfectly.
Okay. Well, it wouldn't have looked good with points. That would have been too contrived.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm super happy with it. I never had a problem with this ship, even from the first time I saw it. I liked it right away. So, yeah, I have no problem with any of those shapes.
And one thing you definitely see is that the engines are so much bigger in proportion to the ship, because the Katinga that's relatively small, but this new battleship far further down, far further up, and it gives it it gives it a faster feel. And I get the sense this is a much faster ship. Like, this is designed to be as you know, have the best of warp technology, and we do actually know it's top warp speed, but I won't tell you yet because it's for the episode. But it is pretty good. So next photo is another scale shot, our last scale one, and this is compared to the Vorchar. This is obviously in size order rather than time order because this ship's much newer than the Vorchar, but it gives you a sense of you know, the Vorchar was that next big scale increase. I think Gowron, it was built by Gowron specifically, and it's like, wow, that's huge. I didn't put the Negvar in here because the Vorchar was an evolution of the Katinga. Like, it was that same style. The Negvar is its own sort of beast. But what do you think of? Is that the size you thought compared to this ship? Because
that's roughly what I thought it was going to be. So yeah, I'm not surprised. I am surprised that I know that the new Klingon battle cruiser is basically the same armament as a Vorcha. So that kind of surprises me, but at the same time, with the time period being farther ahead, not really. But the size is pretty much what I expected. So yeah, I'm definitely not surprised.
Yeah, we talked to Scott about this because to get a sense of the relative strength of a ship is quite difficult because what do you compare against? And I thought this would be possibly stronger than a Vorcha. Not sure why, because they're different. Vorcha is much more battleship. It's less a battle cruiser. But he was saying, no, it's about the same strength. But you're right, with the technology improving, that this is more of the... This is this generation's Katinga, more maneuverable, sleeker, faster ship compared to the battleships, because you still need the battleships. It's just replacing the older ships. Because, we see in Federation fleet, Sovereign, hell of a lot of firepower. Prometheus, much, much, much smaller. You can fit a lot, same amount of firepower, maybe less shielding and less other things, but you can still fit that firepower in a smaller boat, as it were, to get that extra feature. So this is designed for maneuverability. But I was surprised actually how much bigger the Vorchar is and how much, like, it suddenly feels so much more advanced because the curves of the Vorchar are so bulky. Like, they really, this does feel like an advanced piece of hardware.
Interesting. All right, so let's move on to the next picture, and this one must.
Yeah, I lied. There's another scale chart.
Yeah, this one must have been done by you, but it looks really good. Good job.
No, crap lighting. But yeah, this one was done while we're talking with Scott to try and work out relative power and just because obviously seeing these films like Renegades, you only see it within the context of its own fleet, so you don't know what it's really comparable against. The Katinga ones are important, but this is compared to the Federation stuff, and this, like, I was blown away by this chart a little bit when I made it.
Yeah. Again, I'm not super surprised by the scaling, because we did see it with the Archer. So I don't know. It's not. It doesn't seem that big and that powerful when you put it beside these ships, eh?
Yeah, it just
but at the same time, it's more advanced tech, so
it just seems bigger in the movie, which it just has a bigger, grander feel. But it's just the size of a Sovereign's nacelle. I mean, that not to be bad against it, but that's the same size as an Intrepid. But it's but they're different purposes, aren't they? I mean, the Sovereign is a really hardcore battleship, and this is certainly a big leg up on the Katinga. But I mean, you can compare it. It is comparable size wise to the Connie. I mean, that's wow. And the next one is Shuttle Bay D Cloaking, and Tobias made a whole new D Cloaking effect for the movie, and rather than just the fade in, fade out, we went a bit more Nemesis style with a sort of that's a scientific term, effect.
Yeah, yes, scientific term. It looks liquidy. It looks like Odo.
Yeah, cool effect.
Yeah.
And there are reasons for this new cloak, which we'll get into in the full episode. So, teaser.
Move on to the next picture. And this is the three of them from the movie. One's firing a photon torpedo. What are those things on the leading edge of the brim of the hat, as they call it? Are those like deflectors, you think?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or are they weapons?
I do get the feel. Katingas only have the disruptors on the wings and the torpedo launcher. There's no reason why this shouldn't have more. But yeah, there could be some sort of sensor palette, some sort of the forward sensor array. I mean, they don't have deflector dishes, but there must be some sort of deflector, system. Yeah. And you can see, I pointed out earlier that the nacelle Bassards are now white.
I didn't notice that.
Because it's quite a different feel. I'm not sure why. I have to talk to Tobias. I'm assuming it's warp or just not in use, but it's an odd choice. Yeah, cool.
I wonder if they shield up when they go into battle, so
yeah, possibly
to protect them.
The next photo. Now these are ones directly from Tobias of his work in progress. This is a good way of showing the level of physical detail in these models, because he does build a lot of amazing detail, and he loves John's work, and he loves to do that extra thing. So you can see all the little panels and all the little crevices and things, and just it's a really nice model. Lots of contours, more than an average ship, I think.
Definitely more than the D7s. D7s were pretty basic, but that's standard because of the TOS style, just simpler, right? Yeah. Right. So the next picture is another work in progress, and this one I really like that angle. That's awesome.
Without the dark, this is very similar to the first photo we had, but this one you really get to see the points. You really get to see how it's different. Yeah, really.
Now on the front of the secondary hull there's kind of like a grill looking things.
Yes.
Wonder if that's a deflector.
No. There's a lot of grilling in this ship, and that was a very distinct choice. And those are also very specific to the design of the ship, which we also know about. But I'll tell you that on a later date. A lot of grilling. That's a big thing. Heat displacement, big thing on this ship.
It's a lot of grilling. They like their barbecuing, so they go out there and they barbecue on the grills.
I would recommend watching our Alec Peters D6 episode to get a hint of what this all might be. And the next photo is an aft shot, and again, look at the detail on the engines. Just it's all physically built in. It's all, when you zoom past the camera, it's all there. It's all neat. Not a lot to say, but just it's cool to see without all the textures and stuff.
Yeah, again, it's kind of an Art Deco kind of look, much like the refit era was for their engines. That's my thought. That's the first thing I think of is Art Deco. So
nice.
And the next photo is, again, a close-up of the front of the secondary hull. I'm pretty sure this thing would probably saucer or boom separate like the D7 can.
Boom separate, yeah. Now there's one thing I'm going to not mention in this photo, which you can see that I'll tell you about later. But it is in the design. It's a terrible tease, isn't it? But yeah, there is a thing that's designed that we'll talk about later on. But yeah, lots of windows, lots of grilling you can see everywhere. Yes. I'm going to tease
great level of detail.
Yeah, because when I went through Tobias with this model, when we did the Renegades behind the scenes, I made sure I asked every question I could think of, so I got lots of interesting answers.
Nice.
But yeah, and the next photo is an aft shot. This is a great one because, again, the grilling, after torpedo launcher, and there are actually 2 shuttle bays on this ship. There's an aft one, you can see the doors below the impulse grills, and a one that's hidden in shadow. So there is 2 distinct shuttle bays to this ship.
Oh, yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Any idea how many shuttles it holds? How big the shuttle bay is?
We've not invented that yet. But you're more the shuttle man, Stuart. So I think we'll get Scott back on and we'll discuss that.
Okay, cool. And the next shot is a underside shot, but you get to see the warp nacelle close up. I get to see some of the texture on that. But more importantly than that, that center part on the secondary hull, the big bulge there. Is that the warp core ejection, Samuel?
It is. Yes, well remembered. Yeah, those things, and it comes out. I think it's the engine room core something ejection. That's what we talked about with Scott. That it made sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, lots and lots of grilling. It's a very much distinct part of the design, but it gives it so much texture. It's not just a flat surface. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the next photo is the last work in progress. This is where he put so much time, Tobias did, in the actual head section because there's so many little details. They did that, textured it to see what it looked like, and then worked on the rest of the ships. This is the work in progress to the head module. And again, so much detail, so much texture. It's not just flat colours. There's
a lot of work that goes into building a 3D model, especially adding all the little textures and greeblies, and it's amazing to me that they come up with this kind of stuff. Yeah. I just wish I could do it.
I wish I could too. But animating's enough for me. But I know that obviously went by John's plans, but they only go so far. We saw them earlier on. They're just simple plans, relatively speaking. So Tobias added all these little details, all these little panels and things that made sense. And he gets the universe. They all come together really nicely. And then Michael did a great reproduction for us for the show, which I'm so looking forward to doing. We'll see against Prometheus and the Sovereign and all sort of fancy things. So
I smell another episode coming up with Tobias designing this ship.
Yes, possibly. We should get him and John on. Do like a 2-prong.
That might be interesting. Yeah. See, you guys are getting inside look into our discussions on how we just come up with episodes, just randomly.
Live, almost. Yeah.
And this next picture is the first picture, so we're going to close off on that one. Again, a great ship. It was number 4 on my favorite fan film design ships. But as far as Klingon design goes, it's probably up a little higher. So it's going to be interesting. We should do that favorite Klingon designs of in-universe, FASA, side canon, everything, and see where this sits on my list. That might be very interesting. Because it's one of my favorites, I got to say.
I don't think anyone is surprised that it's not higher up your fan design list, because you're a Fed man. We know you are. So, just the fact that it's on the list is a good thing. But yeah, great ship. Did great in Renegades. Loved the 2 other ships D Cloaking. That was a nice touch. And just we had such a great, I think it was 2.5 hours with Scott and Okada just fleshing out the Archer, fleshing out this ship. And it's kind of an honour to be able to be part of that and be, because we are the ship guys. They're the guys that designed it, and we understand the universe and put. Yeah, absolutely, and it's a lot of fun, especially since I love this design so much, and I'm really excited to bring you a full episode where we can really get into the depth of it and do all these different animations and show the ship doing stuff that you want to see, or at least I want to see because I'm a fan of it, and then get Tobias and all that stuff. So a lot of cool stuff to come, and thank you, Michael, for the model which we just got today. So thank you again. Any closing thoughts on the ship, Stuart?
Fantastic fantastic design. Looking forward to the full episode, and that's what Trekyards is for, after all, to bring you the in-depth details of all these ships that you might never know about unless you watch us.
And dare I ask, this is a fan film design, so not official, but it was designed by John Eaves. What does that mean to you? Does that make it more canon? Does that make it more official? Does that make it... Because to me, this is the post-net TNG Katenga. Like, without a doubt. What does
I agree without a doubt, because it's John and because it was so fantastically designed, it's not just thrown together. I think that definitely this would be the next evolution. And if we do have a post-Voyager period show coming up, they need to seriously think and consider using this design or one similar to it for the Klingons.
So it's fan film ship, but designed by professionals and built by professionals. So what more could you ask for? And that is it for another Trekyards mission briefing fan design. And looking forward to the next one next week. What fan ship might we do? Not sure yet. But tune in next week and then look forward to this full episode at a later date. So let us know what you think of the ship in the comments below. And if you want to support this show, please go to Patreon and support our monthly donation page, because we need your support to keep this show and all the different shows coming to you. This new Monday show, is now coming to you regularly because you got us up to the 700 target. So thank you very much, guys. Hope you love the show and keep supporting this show, that show, every show, because we want to get to Fleet Yards, guys. So try and get us to that 1,000 if you can. Or if you want to do a one-time donation, go to our website and click on that donate button and give what you can. Even $1.99 would be great. Mostly. Anyway, this is it for another Trekyards mission briefing, and tune in next time for another great episode. Until then, this is Commander Cookins.
And me, Captain Foley.
And we'll see you next time, guys. Bye.
Bye, everybody.